Wanna leave? For a moment, ignoring Zhu Kuan's situation, Xiao Yin raised his arm covered in golden dragon scales and reached for Long Yuan's throat. The cold, chilling voice reverberated in Long Yuan's mind, causing a ripple of unease. Boom! Long Yuan's figure flickered, narrowly avoiding Xiao Yan's terrifying strike, but his face turned grim. This seemingly harmless guy, his strength, has actually reached the astonishing level of half-step ninth reincarnation? Moreover, the power Xiao Yin wielded with every movement made Long Yuan's heart chill. On top of that, the aura of the Golden Dragon King surrounding Xiao Yin, combined with multiple forces, pushed Xiao Yan's combat prowess to an entirely new level. This made Long Yuan's desire to retreat even stronger. Such a terrifying existence is definitely something I, in my current injured state, cannot handle. The only option now is to enter the Dragon God Stele and seek the protection of the Silver Dragon King. Otherwise, facing such a fearsome opponent, I will be in real danger. That's not a scenario I want to see. Damned guy. Just as he was about to retreat into the Dragon God Stele, Long Yuan found his escape route blocked by Xiao Yin. He had no choice but to give up on the idea of fleeing and instead, together with Zhu Kuan, slowly began to plan some deadly trump cards. Xiao Yin. From a distance, Long Tian and Long Yi exchanged glances. Their voices trembled, filled with an almost surreal sense of disbelief. Grand Elder, Big Brother, sorry I'm late. Please rest first. I'll handle it from here. Xiao Yin slowly waved his hand, and golden light instantly radiated a vast power that enveloped the two of them, significantly reducing their danger. This guy, though injured, possesses the dragon bone. His strength has reached the quasi-ninth reincarnation stage, and I'm afraid he's not someone you. Long Tian's heart stirred, but he still voiced his concern for Xiao Yin. Xiao Yin said nothing. He slightly raised his head, his gaze fixed on the flickering energy shadows ahead. Rumble. The void in the dragon tomb rippled, and the sound of fierce wind broke out from all directions, completely sweeping away the doubts in Long Tian's mind. Among the crowd, not only was Xiao Xian, who had secretly detached from the main army, present, but also Baxia Dragon King, Fire Dragon King, Cai Lin with a cold expression and killing intent, Yun with a calm demeanor yet a powerful aura, and many others, all arrived alongside Xiao Yin. Behind them were three more Dragon Kings, Dark Dragon King, Star Dragon King, and Storm Dragon King. Are you all right? Just as they reached the Dragon God Square, Cai Lin and Yun surrounded Xiao Yin from both sides. Their beautiful eyes scanned his body and soul, checking if the Golden Dragon King's essence blood had corrupted him. I'm fine, but there's probably going to be a bloody battle ahead. Xiao Yin nodded at the two women, then focused his gaze on Long Yuan in the distance, his killing intent becoming even more evident. What a bunch of lingering spirits. Xiao Xian had just reached the Dragon God Square and, without even glancing at the battle unfolding, his cold killing intent was clearly visible as he looked at the three Dragon Kings following him. A group of criminals. Invading the Dragon Tomb is a capital offense. Grand Elder, these criminals were the ones who heavily injured Lord Longfeng. The Dark Dragon King stepped forward slightly, dark, cold power radiating from him as he spoke first. That dark energy had a faint connection to the demonic power inside Xiao Yin, but at this moment, Xiao Yin clearly had no time to pay attention to such details. Since you've come, then let's fight. The killing intent in the eyes of Baxia Dragon King and Fire Dragon King grew even stronger. Hemph, things have come to this, and we won't let you go easily. Kill. In an instant, the powerful beings from both sides fought fiercely without further words. Baxia Dragon King, Fire Dragon King, and Yun teamed up to face the three Dragon Kings, while Xiao Yin and Cai Lin took on Long Yuan together. Zhu Kuan. At the moment when the two sides clashed, Xiao Xian's face slowly showed a flicker of emotion. Looking at the aged figure on the Dragon God Square, Xiao Xian's pride also surfaced. Xiao Xian. Even under control, Zhu Kuan's mind still clearly remembered that eternal name. Old rival, we've never had the chance to face off properly. Today, let's settle this wish right here. Xiao Xian spoke, and behind him, The infinite shield slowly unfolded, his eyes blazing with an intense battle spirit. Back in the Dou Qi continent, Xiao was the strongest below the Dou Emperor, his accomplishments even surpassing those of the purifying Lotus Demon Saint, Huangquan Demon Saint, and others. One person was once the strongest genius within the Xiao clan, and another was a being who once stood at the top of the Dou Qi continent, commanding the winds and rain. Even the matter of Xiao fusing 3 bloodline powers to help Xiao made Zhu Kuan almost believe that this was a descendant who had devoured his own offspring. As a result, he had a deep memory of Xiao's aura. Although you are controlled now, both of us are from the peak generation of the Dou Qi continent. Let's fight here and finish this properly. After Xiao spoke, he slowly waved his hand, and countless flames surged within his body. The fluctuation was clearly the true legacy of the Fire Dragon King, and judging from the severity of his strike, it was obvious that he had no intention of dragging it out. He was determined to end it in one blow. Dragon God. 6th transformation. As he spoke, thick silver dragon scales covered Zhu Kuan's body. His form sank slightly into the void, becoming indistinguishable to the naked eye. Unexpectedly, the Silver Dragon King has passed on such a supreme Dragon Clan combat skill to you. Come then. Boom. The two attacks collided with full force. Although the resulting shockwave wasn't overwhelmingly powerful, for these two powerful beings from the Dou Qi continent, it was enough to fulfill their final wish. However, hardly anyone noticed that, in the brief interval of their battle, Zhu Kuan's consciousness was slowly beginning to recover. Xiao, young Dragon Lord? The battle erupted, and the two forces clashed once again. Everyone, except for those from Long Yuan, was already in a blood-red frenzy. But Long Tian, feeling the golden light and the figure within, couldn't help but feel moved. This person was the one whom the Golden Dragon King frequently spoke of, the most likely to surpass all the previous geniuses of the Xiao clan. The Lord of the Endless Flame Alliance, Xiao. Xiao didn't respond. The immense soul power and wood element power within him surged, using a familiar sealing technique to protect the fading life force of the person before him. After seeing Xiao's practiced movements, Long Tian could feel the life flame burning inside him being suppressed. A feeling of old tears welling up in his heart overcame him. To self-destruct the dragon body and burn the life flame, he had never intended to survive. For once the life flame ignites, it is unstoppable. At least in his experience, only the Angel Kingdom had people who could reach such a state. But now, Xiao's actions were shattering his understanding. Xiao's strength and temperament were truly impressive. He might one day become a great emperor. Senior, do not speak. I can only protect your spirit. Your dragon body has been detonated, and you must wait until the calamity passes before we can reforge your dragon body and restore it. From here on, you must not intervene in the battle. Facing the loyal elder of the Dragon Clan, Long Tian, Xiao couldn't help but feel a deep admiration as he spared no effort in healing him. To be willing to sacrifice oneself for the Golden Dragon King in such a righteous and selfless way, Xiao truly felt respect. Young Dragon Lord, the Dragon Lord is currently in closed-door cultivation, meditating on the power of the Dragon God within the Dragon God Stele. In addition, there is the Silver Dragon King and a purple-haired maiden who have entered as well. Their goal is also the Dragon God's power. I am worried. As the life flame within his soul ceased to burn, Long Tian hurriedly spoke to Xiao. Purple-haired maiden? Xiao narrowed his eyes, a bad premonition brewing in his heart. That maiden seems to possess the power of the Dragon God. Please, young Dragon Lord, enter the Dragon God Stele and rescue the Dragon Lord. Long Tian suddenly knelt before Xiao, performing a standard Dragon Clan salute. Now, he had no combat strength left and could only entrust the last hope of the Dragon Clan to Xiao. I carry the essence blood of the Golden Dragon King, and I know about Master's safety. Though the Dragon Yuan is severely wounded, it still possesses formidable combat power. Please rest here. Cai Lin, I will assist you. As soon as Xiao finished speaking, an even more intense surge of flames shot out, heading directly toward the battlefield. The Golden Dragon King was indeed the top priority, But given the current situation, if he left forcibly, things might go awry. And from the sensation of his bloodline, Master seemed to be trapped in some mysterious state. You, go first. Cai Lin faced Long Yuan alone. The two clashed, and for a moment, it was hard to tell who had the upper hand. However, seeing Xiao Yin abandon the perfectly fine dragon god steel and join the battle instead, Cai Lin couldn't help but frown slightly and roll her eyes. I won't let anyone around me be in danger. Just as Xiao Yin finished speaking, the brilliant sacred flame behind him transformed into a pair of magnificent fiery wings. With a gentle flap, he dived toward Long Yuan under Cai Lin's stunned gaze. The brilliant flames that wrapped around the fire wings, combined with the terrifying destructive power bestowed by the golden dragon scales, turned Xiao Yin into a fierce, untamed fire dragon. He collided violently with Long Yuan's body, and the force of impact was so immense that Long Yuan's form rapidly retreated, barely holding together, as if it might explode at any moment. Now, with Xiao Yan's body having been infused with the essence blood of the Golden Dragon King, his destructive power was likely on par with Long Yuan's. This guy, Cai Lin muttered in disbelief, watching a magnificent fire dragon fly swiftly from one side of the square. It crashed into the other side, causing the void itself to tremble slightly. Even Long Yuan's figure was being forced to retreat rapidly. At this moment, Long Yuan was being steadily pushed back by Xiao Yan's relentless attacks. His defeat seemed inevitable. It was only a matter of time. Boom. The massive pressure made Long Yuan's bones creak, and as he saw Xiao Yan's determination to kill, a hint of madness finally appeared in his eyes. Now, if he continued to fear death, he might not even survive long enough to see the Silver Dragon King succeed. In the face of impending death, Long Yuan was finally moved to action. No wonder the Golden Dragon King is so concerned about him. He's quite a tough opponent after all. But I, the Supreme Deity, will not fail. Facing Xiao Yan's ferocious killing strikes, each punch, kick, and even the fire wings became sharp blades in his hands, gradually cutting into Long Yuan's battered body. Yet, the madness in Long Yuan's eyes only grew stronger, and the vast fluctuations of reincarnation energy surged around him, sweeping through the void in a terrifying display. He's going to self-destruct. In the distance, Long Tian's eyes suddenly widened, and he exclaimed in a voice full of shock. The quasi-ninth reincarnation stage, combined with the dragon bone, if both forces self-destructed, even Xiao Yin might not be able to handle it. The destructive power was unimaginable. Roar. Long Yuan's human form instantly vanished and transformed into a gigantic light dragon, its bright crimson scales flashing violently as it rapidly gathered energy at its mouth. At the mouth of the dragon, a red bone fragment, shaped like a human fist, slowly floated, dragon bone. Countless violent energies surged from the light dragon's body, converging on the dragon bone at its mouth. In an instant, the bone slowly warped and ultimately transformed into a blood-red orb, half the size of a human. The blood-red orb was minuscule, seemingly an empty shell with no power. But the intense crimson light it emitted released an aura of both ultimate purity and malevolent evil. The waves of energy slowly expanded, engulfing the entire Dragon God Square. The moment this fluctuation appeared, everyone else present felt a chilling sense of impending death. What an overwhelming death aura! Xiao Yin quickly retreated, his face grim with concern. Such a devastating attack could rival a true quasi-divine combat skill and power. To handle such a trump card, perhaps only a quasi-divine combat skill could work. But if too much energy was spent here, what would happen to the Golden Dragon King's safety? Let me handle this. You need to save your strength for dealing with the Silver Dragon King inside the Dragon God Steel. Just as Xiao Yin prepared to unleash the sacred flame around him, Cai Lin reached out, soothing the restlessness in his body. But Xiao Yin frowned, still worried. Cai Lin's strength might not be enough to handle such a terrifying situation. I am the queen of the Medusa clan and the inheritor of the 10-colored heaven-swallowing python. A mere quasi-ninth reincarnation stage can't threaten me. Cai Lin responded coldly, her voice filled with an unshakable authority. As soon as she spoke, her deep eyes sparkled with dazzling light, as though she was preparing an attack beyond the heavens. One color, two colors. As Xiao Yin watched, he realized the light in her eyes reached a total of 9 colors. Even the faintest hint of the 9th color was real. With this enhancement, Cai Lin was now able to face the enemy head-on. Ha ha ha. This battle, the victor will only be the Silver Dragon King. Prepare yourselves for judgment. The killing intent from the light dragon surged across the sky, and the blood-red orb shot toward Cai Lin and Xiao Yan's position like a shooting star. With a slight shift, the energy around the two of them vanished, and their bodies froze, as if they had been banished to a realm of death, where only the cold embrace of death awaited them. Just as the shadow of death began to envelop the two of them, Cai Lin's chilling voice rang out across the heavens and earth. In an instant, a 9-colored energy beam shot forth from her eyes, silently colliding with the bloodlight orb under the watchful gaze of countless onlookers. The energy beam, swirling with 9 colors like an attribute-less death ray, quietly approached the bloodlight orb. In the blink of an eye, the quasi-divine combat skill attack, unleashed by Long Yuan in a desperate effort, was bizarrely petrified by the latter's power, transforming into a stone orb with no reaction, as if nothing had ever happened. There were no energy fluctuations on the surface of the stone orb. It then collapsed with a loud crash onto the ground of the Dragon God Square, and the atmosphere in the entire world fell into a strange silence. For a moment, the battle of everyone present actually came to a halt. Their expressions stiffened as they stared in awe, murmuring, and even showing some surprise at Cai Lin. This bewitching woman, who appeared to be cold and aloof, didn't even possess the strength of the 9th reincarnation stage. Yet how could she have such terrifying power? Cai Lin's sky-shattering power was truly astonishing. This girl's aura, 9-colored, serpent spirit, the 10-colored heaven-swallowing python? From afar, Long Tian, the Grand Elder, watched this dramatic scene unfold. Putting together the serpent spirit and other factors surrounding Cai Lin, he immediately guessed what was happening, a wave of joy filling his heart. The power of the 10-colored heaven-swallowing python was nearly on par with that of the Dragon Clan. With such strength, it was no surprise. Gulp. Impossible. What kind of sorcery is this? At that moment, Dragon Yuan could hardly believe his eyes as he watched his destructive attack be utterly vanquished so easily. An endless sense of despair gradually spread through his mind. The supreme strike he had taken pride in was so bizarrely defeated by a mere woman. This was undoubtedly the biggest joke for Long Yuan. Humph. Facing Long Yuan's question, Cai Lin let out a cold laugh. However, it was evident that such a terrifying attack had consumed a great deal of her strength, and she would be unable to unleash it again in the short term. Fortunately, the result had been favorable. Medusa's petrifying eyes, enhanced by the power of the 10-colored heaven-swallowing python and Cai Lin's understanding, could petrify not only living beings but even destructive forces. Long Yuan, your crimes are beyond forgiveness. I am a disciple of the Golden Dragon King, and today, I shall cleanse the Dragon Clan for my master. Holy flame! Looking at the defeated Long Yuan, Xiao Yin felt no pity in his eyes. The overwhelming holy flame within his body surged and instantly formed into a giant flaming blade, raised high as it crashed down upon him. The giant blade of holy fire, infused with waves of destructive energy, was something that the now half-dead Long Yuan could never hope to resist. The powerful individuals who had instigated this internal strife within the Dragon Clan would eventually have to pay the price for their actions. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Just as Xiao Yan's thunderous strike was about to completely destroy Long Yuan, a strange force suddenly erupted from the Dragon God Stele in the distance, causing a dazed sensation in everyone's mind. On the golden stone tablet, a deep silver vortex emerged, its energy causing the faces of everyone to change drastically. The silver vortex, which had just appeared, seemed like a greedy, insatiable maw, devouring all the energy within the dragon tomb. The Silver Dragon King, suspicious and cautious by nature, had left behind this trap. If they were drawn into it, they would likely be cast into the chaotic flow of time and space. In an instant, the remaining dragon Qi in the dragon tomb, the dragon bodies of the fallen dragon clan experts, and even the heavily wounded and dying Long Yuan, who had yet to make any move, were all drawn into the vortex, banished to a different dimension, with their lives uncertain. Suppress the three great dragon kings. We cannot be drawn in. Yun, Cai Lin, follow me. At this moment, Xiao felt the blood within him boil with agitation, and even the golden dragon king's dragon scales on his skin erupted with an unprecedented unease. All right. The two women exchanged a glance, and their peak battle power surged as they followed Xiao closely. The safety of the dragon clan is in your hands. Xiao, the Baxia dragon king, and the fire dragon king exchanged a glance and, without hesitation, agreed. The group protected Long Tian and the others first before unleashing their sky-shattering powers to block the overwhelming pull of the silver vortex from drawing in the three great dragon kings. The scene turned into a stalemate on the Dragon God Square. Silver Dragon King, that damned fool. We've gone through so much to help you, and yet you try to eliminate us? Looking at the thick spatial power in the silver vortex, the three great dragon kings knew that once they were sucked in, their lives would face an unprecedented threat. They had no choice but to stop resisting. Xiao held the hands of the two women on either side, a fleeting warmth flashing across his heart. But just as quickly as it appeared, the sensation vanished, for he knew that an even more challenging task awaited them, saving the Golden Dragon King and quelling the internal strife within the Dragon Clan. He was even prepared to sacrifice his own life for it. At that moment, in the so-called highest forbidden land of the Dragon Clan, the Dragon God's resting place, and within the Dragon God's Stele, events unknown to anyone were unfolding. As the Golden Dragon King stepped into the Dragon God's Stele, he found himself in a vast, desolate land. The land was empty, the void within it devoid of anything. After walking for a while, he sensed an eerie force pervading the air, the presence of which was like that of hungry wolves, radiating a greed that seemed to come from something within his body, something that was attracting them. This is the Dragon God's resting place? Walking alone in the dim void of this barren land, the Golden Dragon King found nothing. There was no end in sight, no concept of time, not even the faintest trace of the Dragon God's presence. Doubt began to creep into the Golden Dragon King's mind about the true nature of the Dragon God's Stele. Could this be the Silver Dragon King's scheme? Though the Golden Dragon King had never ventured here before, he recalled from his temporary rise to the semi-divine level that the Dragon God's Stele housed two sacred relics left by the Dragon God, the celestial pivot dragon bone and the Dragon God's will. Legend had it that those who possessed them could reshape their bodies, bring the dead back to life, and even break free from endless shackles, evolving into a supreme existence through the celestial pivot dragon bone. And the Dragon God's will, it was something only the Dragon God could control. As for what the Dragon God's will actually was, even the Golden Dragon King did not know. But given that it was a relic of the Dragon God, it certainly wouldn't be anything simple. As for the Dragon Clan, the place that housed the dragon bones was the Dragon Burial Pool, not the Dragon Tomb. In the past, the Golden Dragon King had relied on the most powerful dragon bone in the Dragon Burial Pool, the sky-breaking dragon bone, to perform the 9 transformations of the Dragon God, using the Dragon God's absolute power to terrify the extraterritorial evil clan. It was then that he learned of the secrets hidden in the Dragon Tomb, leading to the current situation. After all, the Dragon Tomb had always been a forbidden area. Even the 9 great Dragon Kings knew nothing about its secrets. As for how the Silver Dragon King knew, that remained a mystery. After the First Heavenly War, the Golden Dragon King's dragon bones were sent back to the Dragon Clan by his subordinates. He had originally planned to visit the Xiao clan to check on their losses and discuss the recovery efforts after the catastrophe. However, on the way, he was ambushed by a supreme member of the extraterritorial sacred clan. Forced into hiding, he took refuge in the spatial passages between the Do-Chi continent and the Do-Di continent, maintaining the last remaining connection between the two continents. After all, besides the Golden Dragon King, few knew that the Xiao clan's ancestral land was the low-level plain known as the Do-Chi continent. And so, The moment when Xiao Yin and his companions performed the 5 Emperors' ascension came to pass. Wait, there's no trace of the Dragon Clan's presence in this desolate land. Could it be an illusion set by the Dragon God? With my blood essence, 4-dimensional illusion, break. Moments later, the Golden Dragon King closed his eyes and sat cross-legged on the dim, barren earth. He then drew his finger across the air, letting a drop of pure golden blood scatter across the land. Immediately, the once dark void and barren land trembled, as if the golden blood had parted the clouds, revealing a stunning scene. An immense tower slowly emerging in the endless void above the earth. In an instant, a scene that had once appeared in his mind reappeared before the Golden Dragon King's eyes. Gulp! The immense pressure of the world immediately compressed the Golden Dragon King's body, causing his feet to sink slightly into the ground. A tremendous weight made his expression grim. The Golden Colossus. The Dragon Bone, the Dragon God's will. The Golden Dragon King stared at the sight in front of him, his voice faltering. What he saw before him was exactly the same as the scene that had appeared in his mind after he temporarily reached the semi-divine level and used the 9 transformations of the Dragon God to summon the Dragon God's descent. On this endless, desolate land, in the dead void, stood a nearly perfect golden colossus, an oddly sharp triangular tower towering above it. Golden ripples radiated around the giant tower, forming an insurmountable boundary, while exquisite dragon-shaped patterns adorned its surface, exuding an indescribable majesty. Though the tower was magnificent and holy, there were no visible paths leading to the pinnacle. Looking up, inside the jade box lay a piece of jade-colored bone, about the size of an arm. Around it, faint jade-like liquid flowed, filling the box with a terrifying aura that seemed to transcend the very heavens and earth. In the other box, there was a swirling mass of colorful energy. However, the box was not entirely filled. In fact, upon closer inspection, there were faint cracks along the edges of the box, barely perceptible but definitely present. Has someone forcefully stolen the Dragon God's will? Silver Dragon King? Upon seeing this, the Golden Dragon King's voice grew sharp, and his mind raced through possibilities. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The Golden Dragon King's attention had been fixed on the jade box at the top of the Golden Colossus, so he hadn't noticed the subtle changes in the void surrounding it. However, just then, the dragon blood and dragon scales within him erupted with a dangerous aura. The source was none other than the triangular Golden Colossus. Wait, what is this? Dragon body? Whose dragon body is this? Looking at the scattered dragon bones, corpses, and fragments scattered throughout the void inside the Golden Colossus, the Golden Dragon King's voice trembled. The aura emanating from these bones suggested that they had once belonged to elite members of the Dragon Clan, beings whose strength far surpassed the peak of the 8th reincarnation stage. How could they suddenly appear here? The Dragon Tomb was a forbidden place, only accessible to the 9 great Dragon Kings. Even the supreme elders of the Dragon Clan could not easily enter. The Dragon God Stele at Dragon God Square could only be approached by those of the 9 great Dragon Kings with power equal to or above the 9th reincarnation stage. The dragon bodies floating within the Golden Colossus were not simple. A surge of anger mixed with shock lingered around the Golden Dragon King, and it didn't dissipate. What is going on here? Looking at the shimmering tower and the colorful, energy-filled dragon bone fragments, the Golden Dragon King's pupils contracted. With his extraordinary power, he could easily sense the terrifying power hidden within these dragon bones. These unknown beings were undoubtedly powerful warriors from the Dragon Clan, yet they seemed to have fallen countless years ago. This loss pained the Golden Dragon King deeply. These warriors were the backbone of the Dragon Clan. Losing so many of them was a heavy blow. Yet, the Golden Dragon King couldn't help but feel a wave of concern. When he was in power, he had many elite followers, but after his return, they had all disappeared. If they were here, how could the Silver Dragon King have dared to act recklessly? The current situation made the Golden Dragon King's eyelids twitch uncontrollably. The strength of these dragon bodies must have been of great importance within the Dragon Clan. Why were they carelessly discarded here? How did they even get in? A triangular energy colossus, dragon body fragments, 2 jade boxes. The Golden Dragon King muttered softly, his golden eyes flashing with confusion. However, he did not notice that, as he arrived, the scattered dragon bodies and bone fragments, once seemingly lifeless, were faintly trembling, as if they had encountered someone they had longed for. There was a faint resurgence of power, as if they were coming back to life. With the Golden Dragon King's current power at the 9th reincarnation stage, how could he not uncover the mysteries hidden within this energy colossus? Basha Dragon King and Long Tian might not be able to hold off much longer. Time is of the essence. We must act quickly. After a brief period of contemplation with no clues, the Golden Dragon King shook his head slightly, his vast power beginning to pulse. As long as he acquired one of the 2 supreme sacred artifacts on top of the energy colossus, the Dragon Clan's crisis could be averted. As the leader of the 9 great Dragon Kings, he had to ensure the Dragon Clan's legacy continued. He could not allow it to be destroyed on his watch. To fail would be a disgrace to the Dragon God. Boom, boom, boom. His thoughts grew stronger as the Golden Dragon King began to move, attempting to lift off the desolate ground and climb into the Golden Colossus. His power surged, shooting forward like a spear. At this rate, the Golden Dragon King's steps seemed unstoppable. The Golden Colossus would be unable to hold him back. But just as victory seemed certain, a dangerous presence rapidly approached. Within the ancient energy tower, a terrifying and earth-shattering pressure suddenly spread. A dazzling light dragon, only the size of a palm, emerged from an unknown direction within the tower. Its dragon body surged, and in an instant, it tore through the tower's space and collided with the body of the Golden Dragon King at an astonishing speed. At the moment of impact, the Golden Dragon King felt a tremor deep within his body, unable to resist this overwhelming force. An even stranger scene occurred. It seemed that as soon as the Golden Dragon King stepped into the tower, all the power within him instantly evaporated. The moment he entered the range of the Golden Tower, the Golden Dragon King, once wielding the terrifying power of the 9th reincarnation stage, felt his strength disappear completely. The immense power of the dazzling light dragon charging toward him made the unease in the Golden Dragon King's heart intensify. Inside the Dragon God Stele, in the desolate land, the Golden Tower, and the location where the Golden Dragon King stood. Boom! As the Golden Dragon King attempted to leap through the Golden Tower's void to reach the tower's peak and obtain the Dragon God's artifact, a deep explosive sound rang out. Before he could react, the immense, unresistible force squeezed him out of the tower's space, sending his body flying in a disgraceful tumble from the tower's reach. The terrifying shock force caused the Golden Dragon King to crash uncontrollably into the desolate land, creating a deep, bottomless pit where he landed. Such a powerful impact, had it struck any human warrior, would have turned them into mush, with their body and soul completely destroyed. But with the Golden Dragon King, known for his unparalleled dragon physique, he was the only one who could survive this attack. What is going on? Watching this bizarre scene unfold, the Golden Dragon King's body slowly emerged from the deep pit. His once handsome face was now covered in dirt, and even the golden dragon scales that usually shone brightly on his body were now dull and lifeless. It seemed that once he entered the Golden Tower's void, all his power malfunctioned, as though it was completely rendered useless. At the same time, he was subjected to a mysterious force from within the Golden Tower, and only after leaving the tower's influence did his power begin to return to normal. Roar! After a brief pause, the Golden Dragon King steadied himself on the ground. The surging golden light once again poured from his body, and a resounding dragon roar echoed through the heavens. The previous suspicion was merely a guess, but to confirm it, he had to try once more. Countless golden energies gathered before him, forming a golden dragon thousands of feet long, its body coiling majestically above the Golden Dragon King. There was an overwhelming aura of dominance emanating from the dragon, and its eyes exuded a cold, killing intent. Its golden scales shimmered with a destructive, terrifying power. Having once reached the semi-divine level, even though his dragon body was damaged and his origin power had been depleted, the Golden Dragon King still possessed formidable strength at the 9th reincarnation stage. The combat power he could unleash should never be underestimated. Boom! With a mighty sweep, the Golden Dragon King sent the Golden Dragon soaring into the sky. The overwhelming aura of destruction spread across the land, leaving faint golden traces in its wake. The destructive power of this attack was enough to shake the heavens and the earth. However, even though the power of this golden dragon far exceeded that of typical quasi-divine combat skills, the moment it entered the range of the Golden Tower, it vanished before the Golden Dragon King's eyes, as if it had been swallowed by the endless void of the tower. It was an extremely strange sight. Watching this from the ground, the Golden Dragon King was left utterly dumbfounded. It was only at this moment that a serious and confused look flashed in the Golden Dragon King's eyes. It seemed that the so-called Dragon God's artifact was no simple matter, especially this Golden Tower. Unless its mysteries were unraveled, reaching the 2 Dragon God's artifacts at the peak of the tower would be impossible. Bang! 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 Just as the Golden Dragon King was becoming troubled, a hidden corner of the tower suddenly distorted. Another golden dragon, identical to the first, roared out once more. But this time, the attack was completely out of the Golden Dragon King's control. In fact, it was even more powerful than the one he had just launched. The dragon appeared like a shooting star, carrying a huge pressure and destructive force, charging straight at him. The Golden Dragon King, caught off guard, had no immediate strategy to deal with this, so he was forced to use all of his defensive power to withstand the impact. Golden ripples exploded in all directions, and the Golden Dragon King's dragon scales blazed with golden light. In such a strange situation, small golden ripples subtly attached themselves to the dragon bone fragments floating in the void around the towering giant tower. Coupled with some earlier obscure actions, a faint breath began to slowly awaken within the long-dead corpses, as if it were sprouting like bamboo shoots after rain, unnoticed by anyone. Something's wrong. At that time, I briefly touched the demigod level. There's a voice inside me constantly guiding me, telling me to return and absorb the dragon god's power. This tower definitely has a way to be cracked. At that moment, the Golden Dragon King gave up on brute force and shifted his focus to the ground and the Golden Tower, pacing back and forth, deep in thought. Since this was left behind by the dragon god, there must be a way to break it. Moreover, why were the dragon bones able to attach themselves to the surrounding void of the tower, unaffected by this kind of force? A series of speculations flashed through his mind. What exactly is going on? Thinking, attacking, and explosions continued to echo across this dead world. But despite all the Golden Dragon King's efforts, he couldn't shake the Golden Tower even a little, and the precious time slipped away. Big brother. With the Golden Dragon King's failed attempt, the void in some distant part of the desolate land slowly twisted, and a clear, bright laugh echoed throughout the realm. At the moment the voice rang out, a hint of gloom passed across the Golden Dragon King's face, his brows furrowing tightly. He then turned to look at the twisted void in the distance. Silver Dragon King. Temporarily abandoning his probe into the Golden Tower, the calm voice of the Golden Dragon King rang out, his gaze and body turning toward the distorted void behind him. That fluctuation and sound could only belong to the Silver Dragon King. Now that the Silver Dragon King had appeared, it was likely that the Basha Dragon King, Long Tian, and the others outside had all been defeated. It seemed that in this crucial gamble, he had lost. He had initially planned to follow the latter's scheme and absorb the Dragon God's power before the Silver Dragon King succeeded, using absolute strength to completely destroy his perfect plan. Unfortunately, the Golden Dragon King had underestimated the Dragon God's protective power over the 2 sacred artifacts. In this contest, in some respects, the Golden Dragon King had lost. The void near the Golden Dragon King twisted, and a dazzling silver vortex surged, from which 2 graceful figures slowly emerged. With the appearance of these 2 figures, the entire void above the desolate land trembled slightly. Even the dragon bone fragments atop the Golden Tower seemed to emit a surge of anger that came from deep within the soul. 2 figures, one silver, one purple, around them. Even the air seemed to slow down. The countless energies of this realm converged toward them, with the silver light gently surging, mercilessly devouring everything in its path. Have you really touched the peak of the 9th reincarnation stage? But reaching the peak of the 9th reincarnation stage is not something that can be easily attained. The Golden Dragon King coldly snorted as he looked at the silver-haired girl at the edge of the vortex. No matter what form the Silver Dragon King took, or what body he wore, the Golden Dragon King could always recognize him at a glance, for they were the Gold and Silver Dragon Kings.